Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eternal Spring. Paul Thurrott, and I am here as always with my wife, Stephanie. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
You're a lot more colorful than I am. I don't know what's happening.
Uh,
Anywho, so we are here in Mexico City, of course. We've actually been here for a couple of weeks. Um, we thought we'd provide a quick trip update. Um, and I think the big news is that we were originally going to be here for about 6 weeks. I think November 12th, something like that.
mhm. Yep.
And we just decided to extend this trip until November 19th for another week. We had originally scheduled our return flights for a work trip I had coming up in November, but I've decided not to do that. So we're going to spend as much time here as we can.
Yay.
Yeah. But we have a few other items of interest, right? Hopefully of interest.
Yeah, so the flights were interesting because Paul had a work trip to Dallas at the end of September, and I went along. So we ended up booking three one-way trips from home to Dallas, and then from Dallas to here, Mexico City, which was great because a 2-hour flight just feels really, really short compared to a flight from
Yeah.
Newark. And that was a little bit different because that was the first time we had ever flown on Aeromexico,
Mhm.
first time we've landed at Terminal 2 at the airport. It was one of those get off the plane on the tarmac, I guess,
Yep.
going down a flight of stairs, and then you cross over and get on a bus, and then the bus drives you to the terminal. So that was a little bit of a different experience, but took a long time, but it all worked out.
Yeah, it was like landing at Heathrow 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember the last time we did that. We've done it a lot in Europe. I know we've done it in France a few times, but I mean forever ago.
Hmm.
Terminal
Yep.
2 is interesting. We always go through Terminal 1 because it's United from,
Hmm.
well, just United whatever from Newark, but um, Terminal 1 there's about a mile long walk you have to do to get to customs. Terminal 2 there was no walk at all. It was nice. But we got through there very quickly. This was the first time somebody looked at our residency cards, and I think she asked us if we lived here.
Yeah, right.
They usually ask how long we're going to be there, and no one they weren't all that interested in that. But the big story was that because of my day job, my normal work, I came here with several laptops. I had a couple of phones, a couple of tablets, two speakers, carrying a lot of stuff. And I've heard horror stories from people who, not so much in Mexico City, but especially in Cancun, flying to Mexico, they go through their bags at customs and they get taxed because you could potentially be bringing these things here to sell them. And we got through customs or got the end of security, and there were lines to put the bags through these automated machines, which we've not seen here in Mexico. They don't have in Terminal 1 or haven't used yet. And yikes. So I looked at the signs, and the sign read in Spanish said, if you have nothing to declare, you don't have to put your bag through the machine. So I said, well, all these people are just standing in line like lemmings. I'm just going to, let's just skip because I don't want my bag to get scanned. I have so much stuff in it. And we walked between the machines, and we're just about to the door when someone yelled out to us. And I don't remember if they grabbed me by the shoulder or something or tapped me, but we had to go back. So that was a little nerve wracking, and it went through the machine and came out, and no one said a thing, and we left. And it was, it was just the weirdest thing, but
Yep.
it worked out in the end.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, and it's been an interesting trip,
Mm,
in some ways because we are meeting more people and we're getting to know people better.
mhm.
So we've just kind of been out in the world and we've just run into people that we know, which is so unusual for a city this size. I mean,
Yeah, no, this
we're
isn't around the corner from our apartment. I mean, we've
no.
run into people all over the place in the city. It's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really funny. We're eating dinner one night and our neighbor walks by walking his dog, and then we are just walking in another part of the city, and you overheard someone's voice and you're like,
I
I
turned around and
recognize her.
I
You know?
I called out her name, and it was her. I was
Mhm.
like, "What are you doing here?"
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we met a couple that we've seen walking in the
Mhm.
park near here, and got to know them a little bit better. One thing led to another. We ran into them when they were having dinner with another couple at a place we like to go eat,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Hey, you want to get together sometime and have dinner?" So we went
Yeah.
out to dinner with them this week one night, and they introduced us to a new place. We finally got to know his wife, who we would really just met briefly, and
Mhm.
the food was great. We actually went back soon after because we liked the place so much.
Yeah.
And then we had a fun time. Same restaurant where we met them. We have a friend who works there, and he said, "Hey, oh, you're interested in music?" He saw Paul shazamming, and he said, um, "My friend's playing in a concert tomorrow night." And this was one of those things we would try in Mexico that we would immediately turn down in Pennsylvania because it was, you know, you've never heard of this band. It's tomorrow night, which is a weeknight.
A
It
weeknight. Yeah.
starts at 9:30. So,
Yeah.
but we did it and we had a great time. It was a really good show. We were sitting right up the front. We guessed which
I
guy
mean,
must be his friend.
and correctly, right? Which was awesome. I focused on him immediately. I said, I know it's this guy. Um, but it was like a circus rock show, 80s hair band
Yeah.
kind of thing. It was
Hmm.
crazy.
Yep. Yeah. So we've been doing some different stuff.
Yeah, Stephanie mentioned a new restaurant. This was over in Condesa, and one of the weird things about Mexico City, and maybe it's not unique to here, but we could be gone 2, 3 months, and we come back and we start noticing new places everywhere in our neighborhood and elsewhere. And there are a bunch of new places now around us. And so the last trip, of course, back in June, we were really aggressive about going to a lot of the Michelin recommended places, with mixed results. This
Yeah.
time, yeah, this time not as much. We're trying to finish up our restaurant reviews of the book and all that stuff, and we don't necessarily have to go to new places, but there are just so many. So we've ended up going to a bunch of
Hmm.
new places, including the one that you mentioned. So we will that will come out in other ways soon. I mean, we'll talk about that stuff. We've done these favorite restaurants in different neighborhood videos in the past, and right now we're kind of focused on the book, but I could see more of that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
we'll figure out however we do this. We'll communicate what these are because there's some great new places.
Hmm. And I think it's good balance between, the Michelin Guide places tend to be really good, interesting, unique experiences, but they also are in often cases experiences where you're there for, 2 to 3 hours and you're trying creative foods and you're spending a lot of money. And, sometimes people want to try that. And then sometimes you just want to go to a good place and have a nice Mexican food meal and,
Mhm.
spend a quarter or a third or less than that amount and be there for an hour and go on and explore the city more. So I think having a mix of those kinds of restaurants is important.
Yeah, we've had two experiences on a trip where I said to someone that this is the best whatever that I've ever had in my life,
Hmm.
and uh, it's just unusual. The way this has worked out has been kind of unusual.
Hmm. Yep, for sure.
So the other thing that's kind of different on this trip, and I can't explain this one because I'm ostensibly the tech guy, but we've started using our phone to pay for things here. So for typically when we travel internationally and when we come here, we do this. We carry a subset of our credit and debit cards on us,
Hmm.
right? It's just
Yeah.
basic security.
Yeah. Like I'll bring a smaller purse than I would carry in the US and take out, well, first of all the stuff I don't need here, like things that are only meaningful in the US, like my AAA card.
Yes.
Uh, you
Right.
know. So it's kind of a good habit. And we tend to pay with credit cards as often as we can. It's just easier. It's better for tracking our finances. We carry some cash for the smaller places, the little places that don't take credit cards, or if you're only spending a small amount of money, maybe you don't want to use credit cards. But for the most part, we do use the credit cards.
Yeah. And so they have these machines and they're tap to pay. And that's what you can do with your phone. It's actually better to use your phone than to use a credit card. And of course, not having to carry a credit card at all. It's nice to carry fewer things with you, pickpocketing or whatever, but why not just not carry the wallet at all? So I started experimenting with it, and I successfully paid with my phone every single time I tried it. There was only one time I ever had to sign a piece of paper, which is also nice because with credit cards here, you bring a US card here, you pay in a restaurant, they typically print out a paper and make you sign it as well. You pay with the phone, you don't have to do that. So
Yep.
um, I don't know what took so long. We've been here for a couple of years, but um, not using the wallet anymore. So I don't even bring it. So it's one less thing to worry about, you know.
Yeah, and I haven't checked with you every time because you usually pay, but
Mhm.
we also, I don't think you've come up with that screen where it asks if you want to pay with dollars or pesos and you have to decide. It just
Yeah.
goes through.
Probably
So
looking at, we're
that's
probably
nice
getting
too.
screwed with that. So I
Right.
guess we should look at it. That's funny, actually. I should look. Yeah, so that's that. So we have other updates. So we thought we'd divide this up between the kind of trip logistical stuff and then the apartment. So we'll have an apartment update soon as well. So thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with another video, and we'll see you then.
Thank you. Bye.